Once upon a time, in a wealthy kingdom, lived a handsome young prince and his parents. They lived inside of a grand old castle that had been in their family for generations. Not only did the family of 3 reside within the castle, but also 80 maids, 3 cooks, 3 assistants, 2 butlers, 2 full-time gardeners, a live-in nurse, and 4 security guards who took turns on shifts. Many of the maids were related, given the job through recommendation only. In particular was an older maid named Zelma, her 2 daughters, Isabella and Aurora, and her stepdaughter, Amina. The 4 of them had moved into the castle as hired help, following the sudden death of Amina's father. Zelma's aunt and 3 sisters worked there prior, and recommended Zelma and the girls. However, Zelma despised Amina after her father passed. Not only was Amina another mouth to feed, but she was also much prettier than both Isabella and Aurora. Zelma also blamed Amina for her father having been bankrupt at the time of his death. Thus, from age 9 to 16, Amina was made to work harder than any other maid. The only compensation she ever received were leftovers for supper and a bed to sleep in. Zelma took all of Amina's pay. A few times, Amina had accidentally run into Prince Dietrich as children. The first few times, the young prince would just look Amina up and down, as if inspecting, before running away. She figured it was because she was usually covered in filth. That is until the day when Prince Dietrich grabbed Amina by the hand and led her out to the vast gardens behind the castle. Amina soon forgot her duties momentarily, as her and Prince Dietrich held onto each other's hands, spinning in circles and laughing with joy. Milda, the head maid and Zelma's aunt, saw that Amina was too close to one of the royals, so she dragged Amina by the ear all the way to Zelma. Zelma gave Amina 5 lashings and sent her to bed without dinner. As they grew older, Zelma had the entire staff treating Amina like dirt. She was kicked, spat on, and screamed at on a daily basis. Most of their rage against her was jealousy, as Amina looked much too pretty to be one of them. Amina's only ally was her stepsister, Isabella. Izzy was heavy-set and short, compared to her sister Aurora, who was tall and skinny, but nothing compared to Amina. While Aurora ridiculed and abused Amina, along with everyone else, Izzy snuck Amina food and comforted her when she cried. Amina would say through sniffles and tears, "I don't know how I'd survive without you, Izzy." As they grew older, Amina learned how to act in order to lessen the abuse. Along with her own work, Amina was also doing all of Aurora and Zelma's work. The only time they did their own work was when it involved the royals. Though the other maids witnessed and participated in Amina's abuse, it became so cruel at times that many backed off, especially as Amina grew. It even bothered some to witness the extent of Amina's abuse, though no one ever said a word. Then one day, Prince Dietrich, now grown and handsome, was back from boarding school after having spent the past 7 years there. It was perfect too, according to his father, the king, because someone was leaking castle business to another nearby kingdom. Since the castle staff hadn't seen Prince Dietrich since he was a young boy, the king instructed him to go undercover as one of the staff. His job was to sniff out the weasel. So, dressing in staff clothing, Prince Dietrich decided to start his undercover position in the kitchen. He was introduced to the staff as a new cook in training. Nobody seemed to be suspicious, as this usually was the case before anyone was given the job. Under the lead cook, Prince Dietrich began learning a new skill. He was good at it too, and realized he really enjoyed cooking. Just like the others, Prince Dietrich was given a dingy room in the maids' quarters below, so that he could further blend in. That's when he first began noticing Amina's abuse. Through the thin bedroom wall, shared by another cook, Prince Dietrich could hear Zelma screaming at Amina. Then he heard her getting lashes, which was part of Amina's nightly routine by then. He was immediately appalled. Then the prince asked his roommate and fellow cook, "Why is that girl getting beat? And why is she always doing the others' work while they just lounge around?" His roommate simply shrugged, as if he was desensitized to it all. The next day, Prince Dietrich found Amina, covered in bruises, once again doing the others' work. Not only was she doing their work, she seemed to be Zelma and Aurora's personal maids as well. And as if that wasn't enough, the prince then witnessed Zelma pocket Amina's pay. Feeling sad for Amina, Prince Dietrich waited until they were alone together in the clothes washing area. "Why don't you ever stick up for yourself?" he asked her. Amina hesitated before replying, "Because I've learned my place." Not once did Amina stop washing clothes by hand, as her and the undercover prince talked. "You don't deserve this," he stated. "I have no choice," Amina responded. The prince stood in front of Amina, lifted her chin up until her eyes met his, and said, "You deserve better." After that, Amina and Prince Dietrich met up as often as possible. He brought her food even if she already ate. He interfered and caused distractions to keep Zelma from screaming and berating Amina when he was around. Slowly, Amina began confessing her entire life story to Prince Dietrich. The entire time, she had no idea he was the prince. One night, Prince Dietrich snuck into Amina's room, which was in the smallest, dingiest room of them all. As they talked in front of a small fireplace, they both began to feel intense emotions for one another. Prince Dietrich leaned in to kiss Amina, as shadows of flames danced across their faces. They had fallen for each other, head over heels. Unfortunately, Prince Dietrich would find out who the rat was soon after their first kiss. That meant that he would have to report to his father and no longer see Amina as much. So the prince decided to wait to tell his father. Instead, he had a new mission, to save Amina. When the king summoned Prince Dietrich to his quarters, Prince Dietrich begged his father for more time. He insisted the issue was deeper than just one person, and it would take him a little while longer to get to the bottom of who the castle rat was. Instead, Prince Dietrich spent every possible moment with Amina. Then one day, as Zelma was getting ready to scold Amina, Prince Dietrich stepped in front of Amina to protect her. Zelma hit the undercover prince instead. With rage on her face, Zelma screamed, "I will have you punished for interfering with my parenting." "You call this parenting? She is no longer a child for you to bully around," Prince Dietrich exclaimed. All of the maids and cooks in the kitchen stopped what they were doing and stood watching the bold young man standing up to Zelma. This was unheard of. Zelma always claimed she was close to the royals, which made those around her afraid to stand up to her. After all, Zelma and her sisters and aunt were the only ones allowed near the royals. With all of the commotion, Zelma's aunt ran to get security. "Seize him at once," Zelma's aunt commanded, pointing at the prince. Amina jumped in front of the prince, proclaiming, "It was me, arrest me." He did nothing. Once the guards made their way through the crowd of servants and laid their eyes on Amina, they immediately grabbed her to arrest her. But the prince grabbed the guard's arm and yanked it away as the servants gasped. Yet instead of arresting the prince, the guards immediately bowed, mumbling how sorry they were. The servants were confused. Prince Dietrich immediately told the guards to get up, then whispered to the head guard. Seeming to understand, the head guard gently placed the undercover prince under arrest as they walked out of the kitchen. "No!" Amina cried. "He's innocent." Prince Dietrich paused at the door of the kitchen, turned to look at Amina and said, "Stay strong, my love." With that, the kitchen filled with murmurs as Zelma struck Amina with her hand. Astonishingly, though, Zelma's aunt stepped in to protest. "Enough, Zelma," her aunt commanded. Zelma looked at her aunt confused. "What is the problem?" she argued. "Didn't you see what just happened?" "Something isn't right here," Zelma's aunt said. "Just ease up on the girl until we find out what happened to that wretched young cook." Zelma complied, but still gave Amina a stern look. "Back to work," Zelma's aunt commanded the servants. And so they did. Later that day, as Amina continued doing the work of her stepmother and stepsister, her mind was flooded with thoughts of the undercover prince. "I pray that Deed is okay," Amina confessed to Izzy as they scrubbed at clothing. Izzy often helped Amina with her extra work, even after her work was done. "He will be fine," Izzy comforted Amina. "Ha?" Aurora mocked, coming from around the corner, where she had been spying. "Didn't you see, you wretched servant? Deed has been dragged off to his punishment," Aurora bellowed harshly. "Aurora, that's enough," Izzy said, standing up to her sister. "You are just as raggedy as Amina," Aurora exclaimed, pushing Izzy down. Amina jumped up to face Aurora. "Oh look, the filthy peasant finally has a backbone," Aurora mocked. As they stood face to face, rage on Amina's face, sarcasm on Aurora's, while Izzy stayed on the ground helpless. Suddenly, the double doors to the wash area swung open. It was Deet and the king and several security guards. Aurora, Izzy, and Amina all curtsied immediately. "Amina, come by my side," Deet commanded. So she did as he commanded. "Isabella, collect your mother and aunts at once," the king commanded. Within minutes, Zelma, her aunt, and all of Zelma's sisters were rounded up into the washroom. The rest of the staff followed, being nosy. Zelma, Milda, and all of your sisters are hereby accused of treason and the mistreatment of a child, the king announced. Your Highness, we did no such thing, the sisters and Milda began arguing. The king held his hand up, and they fell silent. Then he beckoned for Deet to step forward. Do you recognize this young man? The king asked Zelma and Milda. Yes, Your Highness, they both replied. He is the new cook who has done nothing but follow Amina around like a lost puppy, Zelma exclaimed angrily. Milda immediately put her hand up to tell Zelma to shut it. It was all coming together for the old lady. Your Highness, is this Prince Dietrich? Milda asked cautiously, dreading the answer.
Aunt Milda, do not insult the great king like that. That boy is nothing but a filthy beggar, Zelma yelled, just before Milda smacked her across the face. Enough, the king commanded. Guards, arrest them! There were several more guards than the usual 4 that day, as they each took hold of Milda, Zelma, Aurora, and 3 of Zelma's sisters. Isabella and Amina remained untouched as they cuddled together, shocked at the events taking place. After the guards escorted out the treasonous abusers, the king and Deet left together without explanation. Later on, all staff members were ordered to assemble in the grand ballroom. Feeling nervous, Amina hid behind Izzy as they all headed into the grand ballroom. When they finally got into place, Amina looked up to see Deet standing in between the king and the queen, dressed in a full royal uniform. Amina gasped as Deet walked up to her. The crowd of servants fell silent all at once. Deet took Amina's hand as she bashfully looked into his handsome face. Amina, I am Prince Dietrich. I apologize for not being able to tell you right away, he said softly. Amina stayed quiet for a moment, thinking over his words. Prince Dietrich then placed his finger under Amina's chin, lifting her eyes to align with his. Then he got on one knee. Amina, you deserve the world compared to how you've been treated, the prince said aloud for all to hear. He then pulled out a ring with the brightest diamond Amina had ever seen. Will you marry me? The room gasped as a whole. Amina immediately looked to the king and queen, who were actually smiling. With a small grin on her face, Amina finally answered in her soft voice, Yes, your majesty. With that, Prince Dietrich picked Amina up and spun her around gleefully, while the crowd of servants clapped and cheered. After a minute, the king hushed the crowd with his hands. Then he spoke. I sent my son undercover to investigate possible treason. Instead, he found worse, a young girl who was being used and abused, while others stood around saying nothing. This is not what our kingdom represents. From now on, if you see something, say something. Everyone bowed and curtsied, in agreement with what the king spoke. Then he continued, Now, it is my honor to present our upcoming princess, and one-day queen, Amina. Whether genuine or not, the room erupted in cheers. Amina whispered to Prince Dietrich then, who repeated aloud, I call for Miss Isabella to be part of Princess Amina's court, officially. Isabella smiled wide and cheerfully curtsied to the royals, saying, Thank you so much. Not long after that day, a royal wedding was had. Amina walked down the aisle of the castle church with a long, beautiful wedding dress. Her hair was done up by the best hairdressers in the kingdom, and her smile lit up the entire room. Likewise, Prince Dietrich, dressed in his best royal suit, smiled wide in awe of his beautiful new bride. That sunny, warm day became Princess Amina. A few months later, she became pregnant with their first of many children to come, and all was well in the kingdom.